Hello, this is John with Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, and this is this week's Stormwatch. As you know, we go over the top 9 books, 3 Marvel, 3 DC, 3 Independent, that we think you should pay particular attention to each and every week. Before we begin, of course, we're going to remind you to LCS, like, comment, and subscribe, your local comic book shop, Brainstorm Comics and Gaming. It's very important, so that way we know who's watching, like how well we're doing, and obviously comment as well. Let us know what we need to improve on and the things you think we're doing pretty well. Also, when you're subscribing, be sure to click the notification bell so you get the updates as to when we add new content. So let's start this week with this week's DC. So we're going to start with number 3. Coming in at number 3 this week is Batman Fortnite 0 Point number 3. This one has another code in it. So a lot of the younger readers out there, maybe people that weren't even familiar with comics beforehand, have been jumping in. I think this was a great idea by DC. I've also heard people start commenting that the story is pretty good as well. So that one is number 3. And like I said, if you're a Fortnite player, you're definitely going to want to grab that book for the code. And then coming in at number 2 is Wonder Girl number 1. Joelle Jones is the writer on this one. This one focuses on Yara Flor, the character who was introduced in Future State Wonder Woman. A lot of people really identify with that character. It has a lot of international appeal. It seemed like the citizens of Brazil were definitely interested in how the DC universe was going to incorporate this Brazilian Wonder Woman character into the DCU. This is going into her backstory, explaining how she got to where she was in Future State. I think I said this in the last Stormwatch, or maybe it was in one of the turning the pages. But the Infinite Frontier stuff has actually made me want to go back and read the Future State stuff. Initially, I was kind of like blasé about it. It felt like it wasn't that important. But as we're seeing with all the Infinite Frontier titles right now, it was a glimpse at a possible future. And so, I mean, I think DC is definitely building a lot of intrigue with how they're doing this. And that brings us to number 1. DC Comics is relaunching the Legends of the Dark Knight title. This one is written by Derek Robertson. For those of you who are not familiar with him, he is the co-creator of The Boys. He was the artist on that, with Garth Ennis being the writer. So the story in this one sounds pretty interesting. There's a new villain who is dealing chemicals to 3 of Batman's biggest villains, Mr. Freeze, Penguin, and Joker. He is on the trail to try and break that up before Gotham is injured too much by this guy's actions. Obviously, Batman is important to the DCU. Obviously, he has the most titles right now as well. But this one seems like it'll be very interesting. Derek Robertson's art is always very, very good. So this is the number 1 pick for DC this week. So let's move on to the Independents. Coming in at number 3 is the Rangers of the Divide number 1. In this one, we're set in an alternate reality. It seems like the peacekeepers of this area are all gone. A commander comes across these young cadets who are eager to find their way in life and also help their country. It's also a fantastical sort of story in that there's dragons, mythical beast, but it's also combined with sci-fi technology. So I'm always a sucker when we see that combination of swords and sorceries with like spaceships and stuff. So I'm very interested to see where that one goes. And that brings us to number 2. Out of Body Experience, OBE number 1. So this one sounds a lot like the movie. Well, I won't say a lot like it, but it sounds similar to the movie Strange Days. In this one, people have learned how to separate themselves from their body. While they are doing so, they have become addicted to this, like getting outside of their body, being freed that way. However, there's a killer who has learned how to kill them on that plane. There's a detective on the case. Like I said, I don't normally check out too many Antarctic press books, but this one sounded like a cool sci-fi take. I was interested in seeing how this one goes. So like I said, this one came in at number 2. And that brings us to our number 1 pick of the week for Independence, and that is Red Room number 1. So I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of mixed emotions on this one. If it goes too dark and graphic, I probably won't be as interested in it. From my understanding, it is very similar to the movie Hostel. I did not get very far into that movie once the violence started in that, so that's not quite my cup of tea. I'm still going to try and give this one a chance, though, just because the story sounds interesting. In this one, on the dark web, people are killing other people for entertainment and for money. People are paying them to do these things. So this one sounds a lot like I said, like the movie Hostel. It's by Ed Piskor, who is known for his X-Men Grand Design books. So, like I said, I have high hopes for it. I hope it isn't as graphic as some people are saying online. I hope that it takes a more nuanced balance, but we will see. I will read at least the first issue and check that out. So let's move on to the Marvel Top 3. And coming in at number 3 is the Immortal Hulk Time of Monsters #1. In this one, we are introduced to the original Hulk from 10,000 years ago. It also goes over when the Green Door first appeared. So we're going to get at least the first appearance of a character in this one, it seems like. And even more importantly, I paid for this one. There's 2 stories in it. The first story has some amazing art. I hope that we see more of that artist in the future. I forgot to write down his name, but like I said, you will not be disappointed in the art from that story. And that brings us to number 2, Shang-Chi #1. We've all seen the trailers that have been circulating right now. I know a lot of people were kind of blasé about the movie until those trailers started hitting, and now people are getting very excited about it. So this is a great jumping on point if you're interested in the movie, so you can get some background on the character. Marvel promises that this will have a huge impact on him and the way he's perceived within the Marvel Universe. As a result, like I said, this one is our number 2 pick from Marvel this week. And that brings us to our number 1 pick of the week for Marvel, and that is Fantastic Four Life Story #1. If, like me, Red Room is maybe a little too dark for you, you may want to go this route. This is Fantastic Four Life Story #1. This is told as if real time passed within the Marvel Universe. So we start within the 1960s. The Richards are all in their 20s, and we progress through the decades and see them age, and how time goes for them. As we saw with Chip Zdarsky's Spider-Man Life Story, this leaves a lot of avenues to see how the characters can grow and the impact of time on them, along with their fighting of the different villains. So that's our number 1 pick for Marvel this week. And my cover of the week is the Nightwing variant. It's not like overly complicated. It's a very simple one, but it shows a lot of the fun that like Dick Grayson is having in his new role within the DCU. For those of you who aren't reading, slight spoiler alert, he is now a billionaire thanks to Alfred Pennyworth. And he's decided to fight crime, not just on the street, but with his money as well. Like I said, just a great cover on that one, though. If you're getting Nightwing, I would highly recommend that one. So that concludes this week's Storm Watch. Hopefully you enjoyed our top 9 picks plus the bonus cover. Again, we'll just remind you to LCS, like, comment, and subscribe to your LCS, Brainstorm Comics and Gaming's YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit the notification button. And thank you for watching. Hopefully you got some good content here.